We all need it, we can't see it, we all want it faster, but if it disappears, all our smart tech and life is useless and hellish. I am of course talking about Wi-Fi. Welcome to Rich Man Poor Tech. For new viewers, this is the technology channel, and today's focus is on about Wi-Fi, and in particular the Linksys MX4200 Velops whole home Wi-Fi system. So time to turbocharge my Wi-Fi. Now this is a bit of a throwback for me. Straight out of school, I used to install business networks with servers that have less computing power than today's modern smartphone. And this video is going to be about supercharging my Wi-Fi from the Linksys MR8300 with Velop to a new AX Wi-Fi, better known as Wi-Fi 6, using this Linksys MR9600 and Velops MX4200s. As I've just upgraded my broadband and the free supplied Wi-Fi 5 router from BT is just not up to the job. Now I know I'm going to throw around a few model numbers in this video. I'm sorry, I hope it doesn't get too confusing or boring, but before I get onto the Velop 4200s or MX8400s if you buy it as a twin pack, and why I've chosen these over the MX5300s, again 10,600 as a twin pack, let's first go over the pre-mentioned MR9600 with its 4 antennas. Now I personally can't recommend this. As hard as I tried, and also with the support from Linksys, I could not get the MR9600 router with its Wi-Fi 6 to outperform my older, cheaper MR8300, which is AC 2200 and Wi-Fi 5 by the way. Which, to be honest, when I had the fastest fibre to the cabinet broadband available, I was happy with it. But as I've now installed full fibre in my road, it was time for an upgrade. Now I don't know if it's a fault with my version of the MR9600 or not, but I was getting less than half the Wi-Fi speed from touching distance to 3 foot, 10 foot, 20 foot, all in line of sight. I was still only getting an average of around 200 megabits compared to the 500 megabits shown at the router connection. Now uploads, there wasn't a problem, it was just downloads. Now as I'm paying more for full fibre broadband, 500 megabits download and 70 megabits upload, I wanted the Wi-Fi to deliver this speed or as close to it as well. And before anyone tells me you won't get the Wi-Fi figures that your broadband package has advertised and you want to just use wide Ethernet, which isn't always an option, then watch on. Now talking of prices, as always, links in the description below with the current prices to whatever I've discussed, and I've also added the BT Fibre login details as well if that helps. Also don't forget to subscribe, like and click on that bell for future video notifications. So back to Wi-Fi. The MX4200 and the 5300 look almost identical in the smart monolithic design as seen on the earlier Velops, although it is somewhat larger than these ones. Now they have an added USB port and 4 Ethernet ports, with one of them being a WAN port, but you've got 5 ports on the 5300, so the WAN port's obviously used for the internet connection. Now if you buy a Linksys MR routers or the Linksys Velop routers for that matter, you need to have an additional modem or access point to connect to the internet. So if you have a fibre to the cabinet connection, you need something like a home hub or a modem that I have here. Or if you're connecting to a full fibre at your premises like I have now, then you can connect straight to this OpenReach access point that I have here. So I tried this with the MX4200, and I'll tell you why I purchased the MX4200 instead of the 5300s in a bit. But lo and behold, they worked straight away. Straight away, as expected, just following the easy to set up with the phone app, just by adding your login details, setup and connection was done in probably less than 5 minutes. Now you can also set up a guest Wi-Fi and parent controls as well, if those are things you're interested in. Now onto measuring my Wi-Fi speed, using an iPhone 12 which has Wi-Fi 6 and using speedtest.net, within touching distance my Wi-Fi was the same as my broadband connection, give or take a couple of megabits. At 10 feet, 20 feet line of sight, it was all as expected with hardly any drop. So that was my parent router setup, but now time for whole home or mesh Wi-Fi. So I bought another MX4200 to act as a child node and placed this in another room with my Mac. Now my Mac is plugged into the second MX4200 with one of the Ethernet ports that I mentioned earlier. And I'm getting around 490 megabits download, again tested through speedtest.net. Remember, this is in another room from the parent MX4200 and over Wi-Fi from parent to the child node. So Wi-Fi all sorted, happy days. Now just to compare, without the second Velop, I was getting around 300 megabits download on my Mac's own built-in Wi-Fi. Remember, this is the other room to my parent MX4200 Velop, going through a stud partition wall. Now for whole home mesh Wi-Fi, you place additional Velops around your property if you need additional coverage to fill in those dead spots. Not by placing it in the dead spot itself, but to cover that dead spot, for example. So you place it in the hall that has good Wi-Fi to cover the bedroom that doesn't. Now if you have a thick floor or walls, then you could place the Velop in the middle of that dead spot and have it hardwired back with the Ethernet connection. Now this is called wired backhaul, but for me I didn't need this. So why the MX4200 instead of the MX5300? Well, price is a big important part, and you can get approximately 2 of these MX4200s over the price of one MX5300. But it's not the only reason. If you look at the specs, they're both 3-channel, and the MX4200 and the MX5300 have the same maximum speed of 2400 megabits on one channel. They also give you the ability to have guest Wi-Fi, parent controls, and the setup is easy through that app I mentioned earlier. So unless you have lots of devices all looking for maximum speed, there isn't the advantage for the MX5300 in a domestic setting. Now also don't forget, if you have more devices trying to access the internet, then the speed of your internet connection will also be shared, and both of these will outperform my 500 gig fibre connection. Now just as a side note, if you can also select 3 devices that will be the top speeds that you have. So if you've got like a TV you want to connect, or you're, say maybe you're working on 3 laptops working from home, you can set up these 3 devices to prioritize on your network. Now the other reason is that after Wi-Fi 6 there'll be Wi-Fi 6E, which is coming, and again it probably require an upgrade. So if you want to use that 6 gigahertz channel, not that there's readily any devices really available using 6E in the UK at this time of filming. So unless I upgrade my speed, my broadband speed, again, why pay more for the 5300? There's no real need to do this. So my recommendation is buy the MX4200 or buy a couple of MX4200s if you want to start doing a mesh Wi-Fi. So all these first generation tri-band Velops I originally bought before are obsolete? Well, no. In case you already have some of these, then these will also connect to the MX4200, but obviously at a lower speed and with only Wi-Fi 5. Although I'm still seeing around 400-ish megabits average download in my dining room after passing through that same stud partition wall. So if you need Wi-Fi somewhere else in your property, but you're not that bothered about the speed, say for a smart TV in the bedroom, for example, then these can still be useful. So I hope this helps you make an informed choice. So thanks for watching.